Everyone. So what we're doing in this interview is that it's actually more of a topic discussion that's going to be that I felt that would be beneficial to the community. So I collaborated here with Steven Cohen, and we're going to be talking about with inclusion. Inclusion is such a big word that is well known in the community, and I thought that Steven could just talk about what inclusion is and like from his experiences and his message about with inclusion.
Sure. So it's great to be back to kind of continue the discussion. Because as you said, inclusion is this thing that takes quite a bit of time to unpack. So kind of taking it from an educational perspective, thinking back, if once I got diagnosed in South Jersey, if my fellow students had viewed me as a peer rather than a target, then it would have been beneficial for the community, because some of the perpetrators were fellow neighborhood kids where we lived. So it wasn't like we could extricate ourselves. In order to do that, we would have had to have moved. But it kind of, like I said, takes me back and kind of has shaped a lot of my future, in that we kind of have to, across all sectors, whether it's employment, education, it really doesn't make much of a difference. So we have the person, in this case me, that's different. And if we just, like I said, if we just give them the opportunity to be viewed as a peer, then everyone wins, rather than trying to teach the person, in other words, me, how to integrate into a world that at the time, like I said, in the example, we're going back 20 odd years, where folks were, that autism and neurodiversity really wasn't this mainstream concept. So it kind of puts you in, like I said, either adapt or get bullied, teased, like I said, whatever we want to excluded would probably be a better catch-all phrase to cover it. Because without inclusion of all people, it's not just people with disabilities, it's more of a broader issue, that people with disabilities also can be people of other classifications, race, gender, etc. So when we unpack the whole person, then by integrating, what happens is you get to appreciate differing opinions more. And I'll leave my soapbox there for some responsiveness.
Yeah, of course. Like when it you brought up a really good point that it involves like everything from like of all kinds of individuals. That's really what inclusion is all about, just bringing the community together despite like it's more of about with knowing the person themselves. And this is a big thing that we all like would say, like don't think like especially in like including in the autism community, like do not think of a person for their disability, think of them for their actual abilities and gifts, like about themselves, their personality, because there's a lot more of that than people really think that there is. And the problem that we still have today, which Stephen, I don't know if you agree or not, is that like where people tend to either judge or like make assumptions of with people and everything, and they don't see the other parts that, like, oh, like this person is very good with details, like they could be very useful in this project, you know what I'm saying, Stephen?
Absolutely. And kind of the one example that really, and I may get some hate mail on this, that really jumps out, and I thankfully was not, the extent of my pullout time in K-12 was for reading, but the self-contained model, which I don't know if you're familiar with it on an elementary level.
As a I work as a paraprofessional in a self-contained classroom, but
Okay.
I get what you mean. I really do, because there is a big thing in the education system today. They're pushing for inclusion. I know that. The reason that they have all these classroom placements like that is because it depends on the individual's support. You know what I'm saying? So arts,
Absolutely. And I
I
think
think that's also a thing that we do need to understand it in the school system, like that the individual does come first and that their supports matter. Like, yes, it's important to also make sure to include them with with their classmates as well that are in the general ed classrooms and stuff. That's important, but you also got to remember it's about the individual first and their support. So
absolutely. And I think where school districts, employers, kind of across the board, as we take a lifespan look at this, and I look at some of the things in retrospect, a lot of issues can be easily remediated. Like, for example, um, to take meeting minutes. I don't know if that's something that comes up in education at all, but in my own experience, I asked for a tape recorder, which in the modern situation is a phone.
mhm.
And granted, we were dealing with a healthcare environment in that situation, and similar concerns come up in education, just different name for it. But it would have been free. I already had the app on my phone from college. It wasn't like I was asking the employer to buy anything. And even if they had to, it would have been so cheap that it wouldn't even have touched their bottom line. And that's kind of the short sight that I think society takes in a lot of ways, that they view the neurodiverse community as kind of this burden. It's kind of the best way to put it. That they're going to be absent for supports frequently, etc. Thinking of an education context, or they'll be absent from work for medical appointments. It's kind of the same comparison across the lifespan. But the reality is, like you said earlier, that the neurodiverse community can sometimes, not everybody, and I want to be perfectly clear, that in a lot of cases they can end up being the best, the student of the month, employee of the month, whatever it might be. And kind of to take a short-sighted position on something so simple is just morally, ethically, socially, and legally wrong, because you're excluding people that will generally challenge your kind of system of bias of how you view that box, the typical student, in other words, or typical employee. And it just breaks my heart, both in my own situation and across the community. You know, both in New Jersey and here, because the whole reason that we ended up moving to South Jersey was because, like I said before, the school district here, and it hasn't changed in 20 odd years, was so bad. And then we got doubly bad in South Jersey, and that's why we left. So it's kind of, we have to, as a society, challenge that system of bias, whatever it is, to create a more inclusive world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Just to come together as a community and everything, because there are insights that people could give that you don't even realize that they could actually give. Like, for example, that tomorrow I'm actually going to be one of the keynote speaker panelists for a virtual event, and it's all about with autism awareness strategies in the classroom and for at home, because I work as a paraprofessional and I'm autistic myself, and just to say about that is the point is that, like, employers do need to give people a chance. Like, let me tell you with myself that I work as a paraprofessional in the public school district, working in a self-contained classroom with elementary school students with autism. And a couple months ago, I got awarded as best support staff of the school year. So, and my I didn't disclose it at my work until there was an interview that was released of me online, and there was a parent of a former student that saw my interview. So, and then that parent told to my classroom teacher, because I still work with the same classroom teachers I did last year. So it comes to show you where collaborating as a community together can really make a difference and make it more inclusive. So that's the message that me and Steven want to share, is that collaboration is the key to help with students becoming more inclusive in schools, and to be able to help individuals with disabilities and anybody else to be in the workplace as well. You know, we need to let go of all the bias and with anything that we ever had that was any like judgment or anything like that that needs to be on like that. So that way we could just come together as a community. So I'm glad that we got to talk about this discussion. Steven, thank you for coming back on again to talk
No
about
problem.